Both of my parents were deaf in one ear. They could hear each other best when my dad was on the left side as if driving in an American car. And so whenever we would go somewhere, my dad would sit on the left, my mom would sit on the right. Unless they were fighting, then they didn't want to hear each other, then they would switch. Both my parents were deaf in one ear, and as kids, me, my brother, and my sister, we would make the common mistake of screaming really loud for them in grocery stores. But they could never hear us, or screaming really loudly in their deaf ear, not realizing that their wrong ear was turned towards us. And we would scream loud, but we weren't able to communicate to them. We weren't able to be heard, and we weren't able to say what we wanted to say to them, and oftentimes we would give them a headache. The best way for us to communicate to our parents was not to scream across the room more loud or more aggressively, but to get up, walk to where they were, touch their shoulders, and speak into their good ear. Getting louder is rarely the best way to be heard. Going to where people are and saying things in ways they can hear is better. Oftentimes when we're talking about Jesus, we too can make this mistake, deciding that if we're just louder saying things, they'll hear it better. If we're more aggressive and saying certain things, they'll understand better. And we often make this mistake by not going to where people actually are and saying it in ways that people can hear. And they can't hear us when our noise is deafening, when our actions are aggressive. They can't hear the love of God through our words and volume that is not loving at all. Now, I think for many of us, as we're talking about how to share the good news, many of us can attest to seeing people doing it very wrong. Mm-hmm. Perhaps that's why some of us don't want to share about Jesus, because we think that there's two options. One, be as aggressive and as loud as possible, or what's the other option? We just never let the people around us know how loved they are. We just know the hope of the world is Jesus, but we don't tell people how whole and free and healed they can be. Neither of those options are gonna let people know how loved they are. So what we wanna talk about today is the ways we've seen God's love shown wrong. Some of us are doing this wrong. Perhaps we have seen God's love shown in aggressive ways, mean ways, or judgmental ways, and that's how not to show God's love. That's how not to save the world. That's how not to see souls saved. So let's expose the lies. Let's expose the things we've done wrong and talk about the truth about how we can go to where people are and speak to them in ways they can understand. Let's talk about the ways that we can partner with God in his mission to save the world. Have any of you ever seen or heard someone speak about Jesus in a really mean, aggressive way? Come on.
Yes.
Come on, let's be real.
People sometimes on street corners in different places, Hollywood or wherever, they're everywhere. But like the placards, they'll have these placards and that, God hates. It's like all the things God hates, which actually usually the things they put on there are not the things that God lists that he hates, by the way. Anyway, but it's like, and then they're yelling. It's just like yelling at people. And I just think, how's that working out for you, buddy? How many people have actually come up to you and said, wow, this really touched me. I want to know Jesus. I don't know that fully works. I'm not going to criticize someone's attempt, but I just think, is that really working? Is that really the way? When Jesus said, in Matthew 5, right, in that long Sermon on the Mount, when he says that we're supposed to be salt and light, right? Well, you think about salt, right? So one of the things about salt is that it makes people thirsty, right? So our lives should make people thirsty, like where they want something that we have. I remember sitting at a table with some girlfriends and we were just having fun. Like it was a lunch table. We were just laughing and having fun. And then there were dips in the conversation that were real, kind of how we do on the show. We can do the nonsense, but then we can also do real conversations. And so that was what was happening. Well, the waitress that had kind of been serving us, when we leave, she kind of follows me and she goes, so can you tell me who you are? Mm-hmm. Like, tell me about that. She said, I need that kind of joy. I don't have that. And so I just think that's actually the salt that we're supposed to be, right? Where we're creating environments where people want what we have. And again, that's that bridge that I've talked about. It's like the bridge that we build rather than the yelling and screaming, which is not helpful. The bridges that we can build that make people go, I'm thirsty. I want what you have, right?
I think about what Hosanna said and how she made that analogy. That was really awesome, Hosanna, because a lot of us are screaming, a lot of us are trying to get somebody else's attention, but we're doing it the wrong way. And one of the things about me, I want to be heard. I don't want you to just hear me, but I want to be heard. I want to be able to penetrate your heart to the place where you can, lean in, if you will. I mean, I know I probably have done it wrong before. Not probably, I know I have done it wrong before, telling people, because I did it without understanding the love of God. It was like, even though I wasn't hollering to them, when you're pointing out all of the wrong things, it's like you're yelling, you're hollering at them. I remember going to a church one time with a girlfriend of mine, and we were the only two visitors in there. It wasn't that many people in there. And at the end, I promise you, he tried everything he could to get us born again. And we're looking like we're already saved. We've received Jesus. But he was yelling, if you will, saying all of the wrong things. Like, I know you need to come receive Jesus. So we're looking around like, it's only two of us in here. And he could be talking to right now. And so it's like, when do we demonstrate who God really is in the earth to draw people to him the right way? God is so soft and so, he calls us mild, meek. We have controlled strength. We don't have to attack people to receive him. It's like, I didn't used to go to clubs, but I used to know people that went to clubs, and every time a new club opened, they would be so excited to share about the new club. And so I'm saying, if you're that excited to share about a new club, and now you come to this transformed life, having a relationship with Jesus, something better than what we've ever experienced before, it should be exciting and loving to present it to somebody else. I mean, but one of the things I realize is that people don't want to share because they're afraid of rejection. And I realized that you're not rejecting me, you're rejecting Christ. And so I'm going to share it in love. And if you reject it, the Bible tells me to kick the dust off of my feet and keep it moving, right?
At TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
And it's because of you that partner with us that this ministry continues. God bless you.